Rory McIlroy, WD. Will Zalatoris, back surgery, out for the season.
I will take Zalatoris for 400, please. And
go ahead.
It's a bummer, right? I mean, first came up week after he won there in Memphis, Kyle's favorite town. Withdrew from there with the same herniated disc, rested for 4 months, had to miss a President's Cup because of it, likely going to miss, the Ryder Cup because of it as well. And so I don't know why he just didn't get this surgery right away, this procedure, the micro discectomy. Probably just got a poor opinion. It happens from time to time, but it sucks because he's such we were talking about Brooks and his presence at major championships. Like Zalatoris always brings something, like edge of your seat. Like, oh my God, look at that putting stroke. Is he going to be able to make this 7-footer? Well, in major championships, he does. 6 top 10s in his 10 majors, which is ridiculous. Hasn't missed one since 2020. And I watched the match play. It was bad, the putting. And I wonder if I'm totally projecting here. If it's, okay, my back hurts, I need to have this procedure eventually, combined with maybe some mental strain with the putting, because he looked just flat out frustrated putting and gassed to an extent.
May I add to that? When you've got a lower back issue, practicing putting is next to impossible. People talk about the golf swing and stuff like that. And sadly, a lot of folks sort of saw this coming with the way his golf swing, with all the side tilt he has, and then he rotates his body on that. And then what creates the leverage and the power for him is he pushes the lower body up into that tilted, rotated spine. So it was always going to be an area that was going to be tender. And sad that then you start to herniate discs and stuff. And this discectomy, once it's done, it's never really complete. That's the sad news about it. But if you've got a bad back, practicing putting is impossible. Jason Day spoke to me about that at length. And so Will Zalatoris, who works hard on his putting all of the time, that starts to go, and I feel like that may be why the putting start to go sour as well.
Big bummer here, KP, obviously, because the talent level for Will Zalatoris, I mean, when you start to Mark's right, backs stink as a golfer, wrists, right? Those are the things that you don't really want to be dealing with issues with. And the fact that he's 26 years old, and just big bummer here.
Yeah. I think the one thing I was thinking about is his presence at major championships. Cause I think you go back to the PGA Tour, and yeah, it stinks that he's out, but it's not, I mean, there's not very many guys that you're like, oh, I can't believe we don't have that guy the rest of the year. Right. It's kind of Rory, Rahm, maybe Scheffler. I don't know. Even if if a Cantlay was out the rest of the year, you would notice it, but it wouldn't be it wouldn't devastate the entire season. I think the thing with Zalatoris is he's been awesome. I mean, think about the last 18 months of major championships, right? Or I guess 2 years since the 2021 Masters. He's been so good there. And I think it stinks for him from that perspective, but also it kind of opens the door a little bit. Not that he's won a bunch of them, but you could say hey, Zalatoris would have won the 2023 US Open. I don't know, whatever. It opens the door a little bit for guys to kind of walk in, and it's just one fewer guy among a pretty small group of guys that can win those big boy tournaments.
Yeah, big boy tournaments indeed. A couple of big boys along with Will Zalatoris who would not be playing this week. As mentioned, Rory McIlroy, WD, Jason Day not playing, Hideki Matsuyama not playing. Patrick, you tried to get out of the Rory McIlroy question the first time around. I will not let you do that. Didn't give a reason, doesn't need to, but this is notably the second designated event that Rory has missed, which will bring consequences that I understand are to be determined.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if a WD counts as a skip, technically, right?
Interesting.
I think that could be a way. Because look, say you skip one and then you do hurt your wrist or whatever it may be. We obviously don't know what's going on with Rory, but I don't know. Maybe there's kind of a wraparound situation there. But without knowing what happens, it's kind of tough to speak on, but it's not the best look in my opinion. You missed the first event after this new schedule gets rolled out in Kapalua, and then you're the first one to miss 2 as well after you were only allowed to skip 1 technically. And then you look more into the future, and look, you only had to drive 2 hours. After the U.S. Open, these guys are going to have to be coming from L.A. after getting their butts kicked cross country to Cromwell, Connecticut for the Travelers the week after. I mean, that's probably going to be a hot spot for guys skipping that one, using their one skip. Is probably going to be the Travelers when you think about it. So I don't know. It's just really tough without knowing why he WD'd. And, I'm sure it's a great reason. It's Rory McIlroy, but it doesn't really come off great when, you're the face of the PGA Tour and you're missing these designated events. And with this one, this is technically the 8th with the Players and the Masters. He'll be gone from the weekend in half of them. So it's not fantastic.
No, it's not. I was shocked by this. Whenever, his play was so uninspired last week and so disappointing. I think if you're, a fan of wanting to see somebody kind of make a run at the Grand Slam, and I was stunned that he withdrew. That news came across Monday morning, yes. Patrick, and we had it you and I were talking about, or the news came across Slack, and I think both of us were like, whoa, like that was just, it was shocking. So pretty, not a ton of noise from his camp, just in terms of why or what happened or whatever. So I think it's worth waiting to see what the reason is. I think Rory's been, he's, and most of these guys are, but just a very the consummate professional of just showing up, doesn't duck a lot of stuff even after playing poorly. So I was pretty stunned by that. It makes me wonder what all is, what's going on.
The other thing, Mark, is Jordan Spieth was speaking about how I think he said how mentally tired he was before the Masters. And then you go through the Masters, you've got Harbortown here, an elevated event the week after. It has been a lot of golf for the top players in the world to kick off the year.
It has, and Rory's obviously spoken of the toll that being one of the PGA Tour's figureheads has taken on him, not physically, but more mentally and emotionally. And I'm sure last week for Rory, because I got to see him for 6 holes when he came through Amen Corner. He just looked lethargic. Some of the swings he made looked like they were out of control. Kyle uses the word uninspired. I saw some of that, and I saw more confused than anything else. It was a guy that it sort of looked like he didn't have any clue where the golf ball was going, which was strange because at the match play he looked like he had everything on tape. So it was a strange sort of decision. But there's got to be something that's going on beneath the surface, because for him to duck the media Friday at Augusta National, and then all of a sudden to withdraw, there's something going on. And if it was injury, you'd hear the mechanics for the withdrawal. You'd hear the camp go, well, Rory's not feeling well, or Rory's got this or whatever. With the silence is telling for me, and eventually it will come to light. But right now, I'm somewhat concerned, to be honest.
Did he duck the media?
Yeah, from what I heard, you were in the press building there, but from what I heard, he didn't take questions at all.
I think it coincided with with the weather delay.
Okay.
It was happening right as everybody was clearing the course. So it certainly was a good timing if you're him. I don't know that he necessarily declined it, though. There have been times in the past where he has, and that's, not always great.
From my experiences with him when I've been on the course, or when I've done another type of show where we'd have to interview, he was always very candid and very open to taking even quick questions. So when I didn't see any transcripts from him, I found it curious.
Yeah, this is not what you're doing, Mark, but people in the comments are. If your take is Rory doesn't want to face the media, literally nobody does more media than Rory McIlroy.
Oh yeah, all the time.
That's so whatever. But yeah, it is a little wait a second, what's going on here? I'm interested, and he's going to play Wells Fargo presumably, and then PGA Championship. So maybe it's just hey, I'm like Spieth, I'm worn out type thing. And then you can maybe criticize him for the Netflix thing of like, hey, if I can play all these events, so can you guys. And if he's now, and again, you wait for the reason, I guess, but it is going to be an interesting one.